All right, gentlemen, we're going to have another one of our Walk and Talk podcasts. As you know, I'm Coach D, and I specialize in, confidence, masculinity, rehabilitation of a man's core to better himself on his journey. And today we have a special guest who also joined me on his journey, and I'm glad to see him grow. He was one of those guys that was like a big high come roller, like let's just say he was making a shit ton and he realized like that don't do shit for you. You have to build who you are as a man, and who also has a solid, touching minority story, because as I understand, he's just like me. He came from another country to better himself for his parents as well as for his future. He is Asian as well, from Korea. Would you like to introduce yourself, brother?
Sure. So I'm Jay, and I moved to America at a young age. And growing up here, I've experienced all kinds of challenges with socializing, getting into romantic relationships, and interacting with people in general. So, yeah, happy to be here.
So let's shoot some questions just to pick your brain. So I think one question that the audience wants to know is that how's the dating culture in Korea versus the dating culture in the West in New York City? What would you say is the differences? And I want you to be raw and unfiltered, all right?
Yeah, sure. So in Korea, the whole point of dating is so that you end up in marriage with someone you love. And that is it. That is always the end goal when it comes to dating in Korea. However, what you have in the West is you have hookup culture here, and that casual sex is kind of like the main thing. And then if you like someone at a level above just having casual sex, then you might consider a relationship. But there's also many different pathways that these things can go. It can just be a situationship, and that's all it might ever be. So, yeah, I would say in the West there's a lot more non-linear outcomes that could happen. Yeah.
So I would say, would you say that in New York City it's very transactional? You've been working with me for a few years, and let's just say like we seen shit that kind of made us like question our existence. How like, people will have like an advantage if you're like a certain preference of like racial, or if you have a certain amount of income or height. A lot of people have been told that, that joke of just like, hey, be yourself. But in reality, there's a hierarchy system we have learned to see in New York City, because since it's so fast paced, everybody is just focused on status, unfortunately. What's your take on that?
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting question, because transactional, there's always going to be some level of conditions in any kind of relationship you enter into. But would I say that New York City has transactional relationships in terms of the guy bringing only external characteristics like looks, money, and all of that stuff? I would say absolutely. Sometimes, yeah, as you say, like sometimes it's just a guy is of a certain race or a certain height, and that's enough to carry a lot of the relationship itself. So I would absolutely say yes to that.
So why don't you share your experiences, the good and the bad. I want them to hear about your journey, so they can understand the pain you went through when you actually thought that, it was kind of like, oh, it's over, bro, or this is impossible. And, have you searched and you've seen other coaches, and then when you found me, just get into the nitty and gritty of, like what you saw, just, the unfairness of how it was for you, until you figured out like, it's not actually your fault. You just got to fight or work as hard. Let's get into that.
Right. Yeah, I would say my first foray into the whole dating world and all of that, it was very, very brutal, right? So I would go to these house parties and I would see all of these, and by the way, I was the only Asian in there, right? But I would see all of these white people. They would all be okay. They would all find a partner to hook up with, or at least, be making out. I would be the only one kind of strolling around, looking for somebody, and I would just get rejected every time I tried. So that was certainly a rude awakening, right? Into the initial foray into dating. And that alone is probably enough to make a ton of guys quit right on the spot. But I believed in the ability to improve my situation no matter how bad it is. And if you believe in it strong enough, you'll find a way to overcome that. And so I've also had to go through multiple coaches before meeting you, right? I had the be yourself kind of coach who didn't understand the unique, racial dynamics.
Yeah, that's just the unfortunate truth that a lot of people don't want to. We're not going to get off into a tangent, but I'll just let the audience know that we have this joke that just be yourself, that, looks, status, money don't matter. It actually does. But in our program, we acknowledge that we're not here to be in La La Land, but we say that if you could become the best version of yourself and become confident, because Mr. J witnessed it himself. I had nerdy students, I had Indian students, I had Latin students, I had short students, I had students that wasn't conventionally attractive, all overcome their shortcomings by being confident and going out there shooting their shot, that someone will give you that chance. And if you can capitalize on that chance and being a confident, grounded man, you create opportunities.
Yeah, 100%. It's not going to be a walk in the park. You do have disadvantages. Trying to roll in the West as an Asian man. However, it doesn't mean that you have a zero chance either.
Right.
Especially with the advent of K-pop, a lot of guys can kind of tap into that, and there's a ton of other videos on that. But it's the journey certainly a bit more complicated and harder than what is considered default attractive here in New York City, which is a tall, white, working in finance, that type. Absolutely. But is it also impossible? No.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would say that during COVID, because I would say that our brown community and our Asian community was also lower in the dating market totem pole. You know how they were seen as jokes or embarrassing. You know what it is in the Asian community, anime, the martial arts guy or the clown. They were never seen as a person of plurality. And what I mean by that, someone portrayed as the hero or sexual interest. It was always be as a joke. But now, in our brown community and in our Asian community, with Bollywood going on the films and K-pop and more Asian actors playing the main roles, there's been an increase in attraction for Asian men. Now, would you say before that, how did it feel before the K-pop aftermath versus now?
Yeah, I would say before that, it felt a lot more hopeless in the grand scheme of things, right? You had a ton of barriers to overcome, the small jokes, no one would really give you that initial chance at first. However, now that with K-pop coming in, you have a role model that you can kind of model yourself after. There are women that will give you that initial chance, or even women that will fetishize you, which has its own problems too. But there's at least something that you can make happen, even if the grand scheme of the dating scene still remains challenging. There is still this small sliver that will make it easier.
Yeah, I would say that you start to develop into a niche market where people are actually interested in who you are based off their preferences. But I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because just like how we've seen our Asian brothers that are, in the dating world, that are attracting people off of K-pop, let's be honest, Jay, that majority of them are not leading their relationship, that they're being controlled by the girl. And it's the same way how when Jay also specified that, as a minority man, you have to work twice as hard, he can testify, I can testify, versus our friends who are of white preference, who are able to get dates way more easier, in the West, especially with the minority community. It is what it is, because, they are sought out, and, based off the hierarchy system, they have the same thing. Like Jay's seen it, I've seen it, my boys have seen it, my clients have seen it, that, if she's going after you for a transactional thing, race, height, or looks, and you cannot lead, and you just use that external factor, majority of the time you're like a keychain. So why don't you express to them about that too, what you've seen in both sides?
Right. Yeah, so on my side, the Asian men getting with the girls that really like the K-pop culture and all of that. How it is typically is the girls like the Asian men because they seem like they can be controlled. That's the appeal of the K-pop, right? So because of that, and a lot of Asian guys also didn't have social skills growing up. They're oblivious to this dynamic that they don't realize that the whole relationship is being controlled by the woman in a one-sided way. And that's not really the ideal outcome that we're looking to have in our program either. We're looking to build men who have backbone and can say no when they feel that their boundaries are being crossed. And this is something that just because you have media representation in K-pop, that's not gonna fix that.
Yeah, it's not gonna help you or save you. It'll open the door. That's about it.
Yeah.
But the rest is up to you, being a man who's like leading, setting boundaries, or creating the attraction.
It is 100% up to you. And this exact same dynamic applies to even the white guys that are with minority women. So when we say minority, we know that white guys are very popular with the Asian women and the Indian women here in New York City. And it's a lot of the same dynamics that happen. The white guy can be, working in finance, tall, handsome, all of that shit, but who's leading in the front? It's the woman.
Yeah, exactly.
We see this over and over again.
Yeah, practically like 10, 15 times a day. Okay, so now that we kind of covered the gist of it, let's get into the meat now. So let's talk about the sauce. So after you found me, as a masculine confidence coach, what would you say have you noticed different within yourself and within your interactions and just in your dating life and witnessing with me too, being a guy, well, I'm not a Chad, I'm not a Tyrone, I'm not 6 feet, I'm a slightly above average minority guy who's ambiguous, but I got balls of fucking steel and charisma out the ass. So tell us about your confidence training experience, like you seeing crazy shit, I've seen all the times when you were just light up and be like, what the fuck, can an interaction be that positive? So talk about that.
Right. Yeah, you would never expect my coach here to be able to get women in that highly receptive, highly attracted state, right? The anime eyes googling at you, the legs being crossed and all of that. And certainly they would not do that based on his external attributes alone, but because he exudes this inner confidence, this inner playfulness as well, right? We're not looking for, girls are not looking for stones here without any emotions. Having very strong emotions, strong playfulness, but also having the massive groundedness to him. This is something that is truly magnetic to women, and it's truly a blessing to be able to see this in person myself, because without seeing this in person, I would think that any couple walking along in the street is in a successful relationship, right?
Right. And you see the beauty of it. I mean, you've hung out with my students who are literally like, our Indian brothers who are like 5'2", 5'4",
Right.
not the most attractive. And then I have the students who are attractive that get all the bonus, all the points, but they don't know what to do because they're not the man. And it goes to show you that once you start to gain respect is universal. It has internal value, and it doesn't require, race, height, looks. And I'm not telling you to be a fat slob and don't give a shit and don't look nice. You have to be the complete package of a man because you're presenting who you are. But without the respect, your package is pretty much fucking useless.
It's a very fragile package. So
Well said.
looks fade, money can go, you can lose your money anytime, your portfolio can go south. All of that can happen. And when that happens, it truly tests a woman, right? To test a woman, you give her nothing. And it'll test as to whether she's there for you or whether she's there for your external attributes. And so if you don't have the inner core built, then she's certainly going to leave you right at that moment, should it happen.
Wow, that was very beautiful. So before we end our Walk Talk podcast, what would you like to say for our viewers and those who are interested and those who are scared, as well as the future for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This journey is certainly very, very difficult. You will be tested, you will be challenged, and there will be many times where you'll just want to quit. But you have to also understand that there are costs to not doing this as well. As I have said, your relationships will likely be mere transactions if you don't build your inner core and you just stumble into the relationship, right? So my advice would be suffer hard now so that you can live the rest of your life in peace.
And that was beautiful. And I just want to say, Jay, I'm very proud of you. Jay is like all our other brothers out there. He's a high income roller. And when I say high, it's like way above the 200 to 300. And he realized like, just because you have money to your name, that doesn't mean anything, or looks. You need to go out there and build who you are. He came from like a negative mindset, thinking like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not a certain race or certain look. How everybody's so mean to me, or I'm not their preference in New York. This is not like Korea. The West is so hard, until realizing like, okay, it's not my fault. It's the environment. It's the media that kind of like brainwashes their headspace. So I just have to go out there, be relentless, train who I am. And I've seen him grow, and I've seen him go on dates with very attractive women. I'm proud of him. And he's not trying to be some like player that just wants like a high notch count. He wants to work on who he is because he wants to have like a wife and family and kids, which is an honorable thing, which I support him 100%. So I want to say thank you, my brother. I love you. And remember, guys, in today's podcast, we had to get a little bit serious. We have love for all races, but this is just us telling you the truth and the reality. We're not here to sugarcoat shit. We're here to give you the facts and to do what's the best that you could do within your journey. Salute. This is Coach D, and thank you, Jay.
Thank you.